session today?
No, I was working income tax for the family trust.
I gotta do it tomorrow.
Up to my ears.
Larry, acknowledged.
Okay. Glad I can help.
Thank you.
Hey, I'll do it anytime I can. I just gotta have more notice.
I understand.
Okay, 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Let the secretary know it is 6 o'clock. PM on whatever today's date is. We'll have a roll call.
Barry Paxton,
Yo.
Ron Jeffries,
Here.
Bruce Harbert,
Here.
Donald Weaver,
Here.
Ruthie Seward,
Yeah.
Jim Beckerly,
Here.
Lauren Savage.
Here.
Sounds like everybody's here, so we've got a quorum. Has everybody read the minutes of the last meeting? Is there any reason to reread those? Everybody's got a copy of the meeting, of the meeting minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to accept these minutes unless someone has any objections.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded that we approve the minutes from the last meeting. Is there any discussion?
And Don made the motion,
Yeah.
and
Ron.
made the second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Will your treasurer's report?
There's actually two in there. There's one for the January timeframe and one for February, since we didn't meet last December. We'll do the one dated February 6th first. General account at Southside, we had a beginning balance of $142,041.50. We had sales tax revenues of $5,768.85. So we had a total of $147,810.35 available. And we had one disbursement, which was to the city of Coffee City for our secretary services. That's for 3 months, $814.65. Left us a balance of $146,995.70 in the general account. In our hotel motel account, that's at Austin Bank in Frankston, we have a beginning balance of $41,511.15. We had sales tax revenues of $904.25. Broken down, duck in was $233.59, and the Lake Palestine motor inn was $670.66. So we had available $42,415.40. We had no disbursements, so that was our ending bank balance, $42,415.40. And for the period of February, we had a beginning balance in the general account of $146,995.70. We had sales tax revenues of $6,627.77, which gave us $153,623.47 available. For February, we had no disbursements, so our ending balance was $153,623.47. In the hotel motel account for the month of February, we had a beginning balance of $42,415.40. We had sales tax revenues of $1,041.91, which was broke down duck in $255.85. The Lake Palestine motor inn was $786.06. We had no disbursements for the month of February, so our ending balance was $43,457.31. And the only other thing I'll note is at the end of January, all the reports that are required were filed with the state of Texas, which included the franchise tax report, the public information report, and we file a no tax due report, and then the file the annual Economic Development Corporation report, which can also be read online, so. And I believe you have instructions on the new website. It'll
On the
take
city
you right to
website.
that site. And it works.
Wonderful job, Bruce. Wonderful job, Lauren.
That's all I have, Larry.
Okay. Is there any comments or questions or anything on the treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion that we accept the treasurer's report as presented.
Second it.
Motion's been made and seconded that we accept the treasurer's report as read. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None? Is there any old business that we need to discuss?
Got gossip about real estate around here, but I don't know if that's old
That's
business.
probably old business. What is it?
Oh, nothing. I told you I was gonna check with Drake Investments about the Schambach property, and I did. I went visited with him, and I'm gonna make this a real short story. He wanted to know how much the Economic Development Corporation could give him, and he wanted to know if we could annex him in, and I said, well, I'm not really sure about that. Go ahead.
Who is he?
His name is Chris Weinshanger. I think I may be butchering his last names, but it doesn't make any difference. If you go across the big bridge, Jim, they sold Schambach Ministries. It's 19 acres over there. And I talked with Bruce about this before, and I showed him his business card, because Bruce was asking me, what's his official title? And he said the official title was Chris. He was Chris. He's sort of like Cher, I suppose. I really don't know what his title was. But I asked him, to cut to the chase on this, I asked him what they were going to do with the property, because I've heard that they were going to build a seafood restaurant. He said possibly through a third party, but they don't know. He said more than likely they were going to build a high-rise hotel there. And I said, well, that's really great, and he offered to take me into the property. And I said, sure, and he was running short on time, and then we started talking about the rest of Coffee City, and then we started talking about, on your side, the property, the 250 acres, Larry, this person. And this guy I don't know whether he was a blowhard or telling me the truth there, but he said he was going to buy everything. He said he was looking into buying the 250 acres on the other side of your property, and he was going to buy everything in Coffee City. And I said, well, that's just absolutely fabulous news. I said, you let us know what we can do to help you, and so forth and so on. And I really wasn't sure, and Bruce and I talked about this, and Bruce has maybe a better handle on this, whether these guys are just investors getting ready to turn the property over to somebody else, because if you notice, the sign is still up.
Yeah.
They still had the sign
Yeah,
up.
that's what I was wondering, is that sign still there?
Yeah, the sign's still there, but also you've noticed they're taking a bulldozer to it. And
They spent an awful lot of money up there.
yeah, they bulldozed all the trees down. They bulldozed the oak trees down on the waterfront, and all the 19 acres they've cleared in back. And so I don't know what to think about it, but I told y'all I was going to go visit the guy. I visited the guy, and my report is I don't know. But he was basically, he was pumping me to see what information he could get, and I was glad to give him any information that I had, because it's all public information, and so that's
And
that.
I had somebody from Dogwood City tell me too that there's gonna be a fast food restaurant there at the Yellow Light and a 3 to 4 story Marriott. And I says, where'd you get this information? He says, it's just rumor, which is basically the same thing that you kind of heard. There's gonna be some type of restaurant, some type of motel. But there's nothing to substantiate.
No, and I don't see why they don't take the sign down. If it seems like it was a committed deal, they would take the sign down. But it still has
That's what I was wondering.
Drake Investments, it still has the sign up there. And so I'm thinking, well, they bought it for a little under $1.5 million. Maybe they think they bulldoze the trees down, that they could just flip the property instantly over for $2.5 million and just run away. Who knows?
It sounds like a plan.
And then I looked at all the other property in Coffee City. I went and talked with the people over at United Country. And I talked with Donna over there, and I won't waste your time on talking about that, but I have it all printed out on the property that's available. And then, of course, Mr. Harrington, that was a discussion last time too. And I talked with Ronnie Clarkston. Well, actually, I talked with the people over at United Country. And they said that they had buyers for it, And they contacted Ronnie Clarkston, and Ronnie Clarkston, who is the real estate agent for Choice Realty, had told him, no, can't be done, it's already done deal, it's already sold. And so then the mayor took over, and the mayor contacted Ronnie. And what did he say, Mayor?
I told him, I said, I hope you didn't sell that property to an investor. I hope you sold it to somebody that's going to develop it. He said, that's the people that are buying it are going to develop it. And he couldn't tell me.
Well, Donna didn't know at United Country, but she had been told through more of this grapevine kind of talk that it was gonna be a service station.
Supposed to close on May the 29th.
Yeah, I have talked to the realtor also,
Oh, what'd he say?
but, well, the closing is scheduled for the 29th. That's all basically that we know.
Also, I talked to Ronnie Clarkston too, and he told me the same thing. He told me that it was gonna be somebody that's gonna develop it.
Yeah.
But he couldn't say at the moment because the contract was still pending.
Not until it closes. That
Yes.
information doesn't come
Yeah.
out.
And
He
just,
said that there was an individual that wanted to buy it and he turned them down.
But that,
These
but
people
that,
got in,
that property is fully within Coffee City, right?
of course,
Okay.
Yeah, but, yeah, 3506.
Yeah.
There were three parcels, is that right?
Yes.
There was the parcel on the corner, then
They
there's,
wanted $395, I think, for the, or $315 for the property that's on the water where the old restaurant used to be.
325,
$325, and they wanted $215 for the shopping mall.
that's correct.
And then they wanted $295 for the corner.
Mayor is right again.
but that property's really not on the water, is it? The restaurant property?
I think the motel owns that ramp, because they're the ones you always had to pay the launch fees to.
Well, see, I've always thought that property, I thought,
See, the story behind that is when Tony Harrington built that restaurant, he owned that.
Mhm.
And he deeded it to the motel, he owned the motel at the time. Well, when he sold the motel,
Property
he lost
went
his
with it.
access.
Tony told me that he still owned that ramp and that parcel of land. That he, since the restaurant was gone, they were paying the ramp fees to the guy at the motel, and he was then owing them for Tony. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, I'm just telling you, Tony told me that one time.
Donna said she saw Tony 1 week before he died. And it's exactly what he said, but he said Tony Arrington came into her office at United Country, and she wanted that thing undeeded. Well, Tony deeded it over, we really just can't undeed it. But Tony, at that time, he said, was not in the best of health and was not to be convinced. But so there's more gossip, who knows? But anyway, the interesting thing about that is it's not waterfront, and that is a fact. I think we can all take that to the bank. And that is exactly,
Unless they can buy it from the motel.
they're not gonna,
yeah. The owner of the motel lives in Dallas, and he told me himself that he had purchased that from he purchased the motel, he also purchased the ramp too.
and the restaurant property is 3 acres according to Ronnie Clarkson.
One of the,
$325,000.
one of the difficulties in Henderson County in looking at the actual land records, tax appraisal, et cetera, is that they use an outfit called TaxNet, which is very difficult to work with. It basically needs one of us to go over to Athens, to the county courthouse, and do a land search.
For what purpose?
To dispel he said, he said, he said, to show exactly who owns.
Oh, well, it's
I don't think
the
matters, to
motel,
be
I
honest.
mean, I think it's a done deal.
a done deal, there's no point in that.
I don't
Okay.
think, that's what I
I think so too, because now that
But
they,
that's,
Why would Tony be up there wanting to undeed it if he had deeded it over?
but that's what, in the past, I've run into this on Henderson County. In Henderson County, tax records, ownership is very difficult to trace using the website TaxNet. Very difficult.
If you just go to the appraisal district, though, they're really helpful over there.
But you have to go to them.
Yeah, that's right.
You physically have to go to them to see who owns what. But if there's any question about who owns it, again, one of us has to go do that.
I understand.
and they're, the Harrington's relatives or kids were ready to dump it, and if it was theirs,
Well,
they
that
would.
real estate, Ronnie Clarkson,
Yeah.
he's one of the grandkids.
Oh, is he really? Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he's family.
He's married to
He's
his
a
daughter,
son-in-law.
right?
Oh.
I didn't get any farther than that, he just
He's
told me
married
he
to
was
the oldest
family.
daughter.
Yeah.
That's why that's the only reason he's got it listed.
I
Well,
thought you
then-
knew that.
I pretend like I know everything. Fooled ya!
Not that it, not that
Not
it
that
makes
it
any
matters,
difference.
I just happened to be grilling him a little bit, and that's what he told me. God, it was pretty obvious in my talking to him, he was not really a knowledgeable, commercial agent, and so I was kind of grilling him a little bit.
That's real
He said,
interesting,
"No," I said,
because he was real
"I'm just doing
deadpan when I
something."
talk to him on the phone, you know, I'm always sort of the excitable type, oh, this is a great deal, and, okay.
Is
Just
there any
my
other,
opinion.
is there any other old business? Okay, moving along, the next item, there is a presentation to be made to discuss the voluntary annexation of Lake Paxton Resort into the city of Coffee City.
Good evening. May I sit? I'm Scott Martin. I'm the manager of Lake Palestine Resort. And I have a copy of a grant proposal that we have put together, which would allow for the annexation, the voluntary annexation of Lake Palestine Resort, and provide a return on investment to the EDC and put in some tax dollars into the city. I'll let you take your own time to read over all of the verbiage, but I'll hit the highlights for you. This area is becoming more and more of a destination for tourism. We have realized that over the past couple of years with the amount of bass tournaments coming to the area, amount of crappie tournaments, amount of just fishing tournaments, and just people coming to visit the lake. We're also seeing a boom in residential in the area. I don't know so much about Coffee City, how much of a boom they're seeing. Chandler is starting to explode because of water frontage. The area where I personally live over near Flat Creek, it's very difficult to find any property over there that's undeveloped. To keep up with that and to stay ahead of future demand, we have to, as a business, constantly change and improve the way we do things. Now, there's only so much we can do. Like in 2008, we added 5 cabins. That accommodates 24 additional guests on an ongoing basis. Moving into 2014, it's time to add more cabins. We host 95% of the sanctioned fishing tournaments on this lake. And those include virtually every variety of fish that you can imagine, including many championships, including the Big Bass Bash, which is the largest tournament this lake has ever seen. They come from outside the area. They are looking for a place to stay. Many of the hotels in Tyler, where we're losing these people to, they don't have the parking to take care of their boats and their trucks. You're looking at additional 14 to 24 feet on the back of a truck, and their parking lots just don't have it, and they don't have the electricity available either to charge those boats as they're staying there. Now, another area, and this is one, no, there's no secret, with Tyler and other areas going wet, Coffee City has lost a lot of tax revenue. Have to be looking at ways to get more revenue into the city. So what we're looking for out of this is the purchase of cabins and a bunkhouse. It'll increase our availability from 24 to 30 beds. It'll increase it, that number, not from 24 to 30, it will increase it 24 to 30, additional on what we have now. If you agree to this, you'll be available to annex our park voluntarily. And this will also provide the revenue to get the return on investment, not just through the beds and heads taxes, but also through sales taxes that will be available from that area. Put in here projected costs, revenues, and a 10-year projection, which basically returns the investment 100% within 10 years. The total investment we are looking for is $169,704. This will provide the 4 cabins, the bunkhouse, and everything associated with putting those together to make them fully functional and operational from day one. We can execute this and have it going 90 days or less. We have done a lot of research. We started looking at this in the beginning of last season because we knew we were getting tight on our beds. I'll tell you right now, this weekend, we've lost probably 30 people to other areas because we're booked solid. The amount can be split up over a period of time. The needs would be though $84,000 upon approval, $50,000 within 30 days, and the balance within 60 days of approval. Now, if you look at the next page, the occupancy rates and income, what we've done is we've taken all of our available, and that's in black. That is what we currently have there for lodging. The ones we're looking at adding are in green, the cabin 9 through 13. And I know some people are superstitious, so we're actually rolling the dice, and we may make it cabin 14 instead of 13. The average rate is taken from our summer rates, our tournament rates, our weekend rates, and our holiday rates, and building an average of what the rate is on any given day throughout the year. A year having 365 availabilities or avails, and then the percentages as such. Currently, we are running approximately 17 to 18% occupancy at all times. We project as this area grows, we will get to what is the industry average for a tourist area of 32 to 35% occupancy. They do fluctuate. Winter months are slower. Spring and summer, it does get busier. The rates that are posted there are before any tax. On the next page, we have the tax projections. The 2013 is the actual number taken from our balance sheet of $123,396. That is also our sales of taxable items in 237, 235, that dollar amount. The EDC income would have been $9,893.90. City income would have been $2,372.35. Now that's based upon the effective rates that are in place today with sales taxes and bedding and lodging taxes. The projections down the line are based upon an 8% annual increase in revenue. The economy is getting stronger. People are starting to spend more money. We are seeing more tourism. It's not just us. Before I went to work for Larry a few years ago, I worked for Vail Resorts. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Vail Resorts, but they are the premier snow, ski, and golf destination on the planet. They are expected to see 25 to 30% increase over last year this year. I still maintain friendships over there. So 8% could actually be a very conservative estimate if we start doing what we need to do in this area to make this area grow. Income projections begin in 2015, since that will begin the first complete year of income to project. 2014 EDC income, I base that beginning June 1st, and then moving to the end of the year. So your average ROI over the 10 years, return on investment, would be 11.51%. And if anybody can get 11% on their money right now, please tell me where. Because I'm not seeing any place you can get that kind of return on investment. There's no question Coffee City is going to be needing to look for additional revenue streams. As places go wet, as the talks become more and more serious in Tyler about bringing liquor in. This is one way to help bring those sales tax dollars back to us and to keep them at home rather than them going elsewhere. And one way is through the collection of property taxes. However, with the economy still struggling, it will be difficult to get that past voters. Another way is to develop new and existing business. This is what we are wanting to do. We're one of the largest businesses on Lake Palestine, and we remain out of the reach of Coffee City for tax revenue. There are other businesses who would be interested in building in Coffee City, which would help with that tax base. We hear about them coming all the time. We're here now. We're ready to go. We're ready to pull the trigger on this. ROI is the most accurate way to determine where to put your tax dollars. It's advantageous for a business as well as for a government entity. I've done a little bit of research. Has there ever been a grant that's been done by this EDC where you actually had a return on investment on it that you could calculate? That's not a rhetorical question. Does anybody know of any investment the EDC of Coffee City has done where an ROI can actually be calculated?
How many acres do you have?
We have command and control of approximately 15 acres. Now, land-wise, we're about 7.5 to 9. When I say command and control, we've got a large inlet where all of our boathouses are.
Will this be full capacity as far as development goes? This will be as far as you can push it?
No. We have other availabilities that we can do.
a little bit, but you're getting close. I mean, you know, we can still probably develop a little bit more. The problem that we're gonna run into after we get to this point, is gonna be, as we develop, it's gonna be tough to keep up with parking. That's gonna be the real.
Or we're gonna have to look at rip and replace.
Or, yeah, and that's something we're looking real hard at, is getting rid of, part of what we've got and replacing it.
So very basically, the last paragraph kind of lands it out. We stand at a crossroads in Coffee City. I lived here when I was in high school. I lived in Broward Bay. I graduated from Brownsboro in 1987. I've seen Coffee City grow. I dated Paula Phillips for a long time. She'll even admit to it. Do y'all know who Phillips is? Paul and Wayne Phillips? They built kilos. They built kilos. But that money is disappearing rapidly and will continue to disappear over the next few years. It can be proactive, city can choose to be proactive and partner with somebody like us, or we can sit back and relax and pray somebody comes in and helps us out. The only other piece we are asking for on this, there is no current property tax in Coffee City. However, we are asking for a 15-year abatement that would extend to current and any future ownership that would begin on the date of execution of this of a contract with us, for any property taxes that may be put into place. So the question is the city ready to grow with us? Thank you.
Let me add just a couple quick things. I purposely asked him to keep these numbers very conservative, okay? In 2009, our occupancy rate was right at 30%. With the economy, low lake level, and everything built back, we're back to building, as he pointed out a moment ago. Within this year, maybe next, we'll be back up to the 30 to 32%. But we have been there, and it will not be hard to get back to there. We may well get there this year.
And all that sounds good, but about 75% of what he's talking about is not this body's to address, it'd be the city council's.
What?
Much of the stuff he's talking about is not for us to address, but it's city council to address. What, some of the stuff about
It has to be addressed right here.
annexation and all that stuff.
It has to be addressed right here.
Yeah, annexation
If
is
the,
not
if the
our job.
EDC does not approve the grant, we do not voluntarily want to join
Okay,
Coffee
now that's what I was getting to. What's the bottom line? What are you asking for?
We're asking.
Grant
for-
money of $200,000?
Not 200.
Well, I'm just,
169,704.
total grant, not a loan guarantee, not a loan.
No, sir. Total
A
grant.
total give out.
Yes. That has a return on investment. Once we are annexed, you see taxes.
You checked the laws and make sure that's lawful.
Absolutely.
Total
That's what we're here
grant
for.
Yeah, this is what the EDC, this is what EDCs do all over the state of Texas.
We also loan money and they give loan guarantees.
I understand that. We are not looking for a loan. If we wanted to do a loan, we'd talk to banks, and we don't want to talk to banks right now.
You make a study before I agree with that.
Well, we're not gonna come to a decision tonight anyway. I don't think we are.
No,
The,
just from what I've seen, I need at least, a week or so to absorb this.
There's a lot of information here.
But what I'd like to do, maybe is, at the same time, I don't wanna put it off. But maybe we could decide amongst ourselves tonight to call another meeting, a special meeting in a week or so. Does that give you enough time to look at what you all need to look at, you feel like?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about,
And raise some questions.
if you bring that annexation to the table in the city council, all hell's gonna break loose.
Why?
Because the
Well, that's
EDC
where-
did it and it's not in the EDC's
The
position
EDC,
structure to do that.
I
The
think
EDC
it can be
The
structured
city needs to
from
bring
the
that up,
EDC
and the
standpoint.
EDC needs to do their
Whereby the EDC could
See what I'm saying?
make a recommendation to the
It's
city.
PR more than anything else.
Yeah, I think and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think EDC would have to make an agreement for this grant that would have to be approved by the city council. I think it's the way it would work. I don't think the city council can act until we make a decision. Is that,
That's my understanding.
that's the way I see
My
it.
understanding.
yeah, I was gonna point out, since it's on the same subject, this is today's paper, and this is, actually it's an Athens paper, and it talks about the Chandler EDC, and it talks about the projects that they approved for Chandler. Have you already read it, Jim?
No, I heard a bit of it a little earlier today.
But anyway, it's exactly what you're saying, is they had, they approved some infrastructure for Brookshire's, and they approved the baseball park. And, anyway, they went through, and they have the numbers here, it was like 125 grand, and then, I won't go into the numbers, but basically, the Chandler EDC took this before the Chandler, council, and then they said yes or no.
And that's the process,
The
exactly.
process
right.
that we've been talking about here.
Now, you're exactly right. The EDC does not have any legal authority to annex.
And because of
The
past
town
history, the
Because this is the
EDC
title of the
present
article, it
is
says-
not good business
It
practice.
says Chandler council
See what I'm saying?
agrees.
Right, but what we're looking for is an EDC approval for us to take the next step to go to the town council and say, we wish to be annexed.
Right.
Because without that,
Now you're saying what I'm saying.
well, we're talking the same thing here. We're just gotta make sure we're saying it right.
In other words, they're not gonna take it to the city council for approval until they have some type of commitment from the
We'll probably have to present
EDC.
this to the city council all over again.
I'll bet
Or it's with the
that-
city.
To some extent, but.
No, so
we-
they'll know how it ties together.
Right.
It all ties together with the council, that's right, but somebody has to make a first move.
Yeah.
But I think for us to discuss annexation here, can you vote on it?
It's not,
Yeah.
Well, we really not discussing it.
That's what the, you know, what says annexation, it
No,
doesn't say
I know,
representation of
that's
the
poorly
grant.
worded in. I think what we have to decide is, do we want to do the grant? Because it's ultimately going to be up to the city council to make the decision on the funds, not us.
The proposal is dependent on the city, but the proposal is if this new business be brought into the city with a grant of 169,704, would the city annex the property? That's the proposal that's before.
You said they were gonna deed over the park in this deal?
Negative. We will not deed over the park. We will allow annexation. The deed will remain with Midlife Crisis 2 Incorporated.
Allow, legal term is not, city will annex.
We
what
would
it wants.
voluntarily ask to be annexed into the city.
No other business would deed
I can say you're
over.
way off that left field.
Yeah, we're not gonna give the business to the city for the city
No,
to
you
own
said
it.
something separately about a park, that's what I was wondering, I've never seen the park, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, we're just right across the bridge. It's an
Well, I know you,
park
but
and
you said, I talking about like city park or tabletop park or what?
No.
It's just called an RV
We're
park.
an RV park.
Oh, okay.
I'm off the wall.
The business is generically referred to as.
Come over and take a look at it.
I've driven through it, I just didn't,
But
picture a city park like,
That's, as I hear it, that's the proposal. That the EDC would recommend or not recommend a grant of contingent upon annexation by.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
That's the way I see it.
Okay, so the EDC makes a recommendation to the city, either yea or nay.
Oh, if it's nay, there's no reason to go to the city.
But I'm saying,
Yeah.
so within.
That's why this is the first step.
So
Yeah,
within
this
this
is the
group
first
here, the decision has to be made, do we think that this is a worthwhile way to go?
Right, and this is a very detailed presentation. I mean, when you're down to the flowers and plants around the cabin, including the labor.
I crossed out menus in my sleep, so.
That the presentation that you gave us once on the, I think it was a Holiday Inn, a hotel. It was a hotel to be located in, they did something very similar.
Well, I never gave you my report on that, I have to have that here if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
Briefly?
No, I read it word for word, detail for detail.
It was like this,
I got it right here, as a matter of fact, yeah.
but it was the same type presentation. The presentation was for the development of a hotel in the area. It had a great deal of detail in it, and it got down to the bottom line.
It did not have a lot of great detail in it. It was incredibly vague. It didn't give you anything. It was, they promised a lot of stuff that was not possible, and it was dead before it even started. It was horse pucky.
Well, I'll tell you the genesis of this. Last year, when we were in February, we had a full weekend. I mean, full. And it's like, we need more lodging. How do we go about doing this? So we started doing research on park homes and cabins and things to do with the lodge, how to expand more of our lodging. And we even kicked around ideas of, do we take away some RV sites, and, you know, what do we need to do here to increase the lodging? And we have been very methodical and very slow with how we put things together. We have visited numerous places to look at park models and to look at other things and see what we can do with this. And to be perfectly honest with you, to get this number of beds for that money, we're actually about half of where we began. And we're still gonna have 24 to 30 more beds available at half the money of where we originally started a year later. Because
How many
we
are the
shot.
owners putting in towards this? That's my question.
This is a grant to do all of this. The owners are providing the property for it to be put on and to be annexed into the city, pending approval from this body to go to the town council. What are the owners putting in? The owners are allowing these tax dollars to be collected off of our property by voluntarily annexing.
And that sounds good. They can annex you with it's voluntary or not. They can do what they want to annex them.
Stand by just.
You know that. But I just see what you're saying.
Yeah, all right.
Can I make some
This is the first time I've heard
clarifications on
of it.
economic development?
Sure.
I've been involved off and on in economic development since the early 70s. When I first got involved, economic development was a federal program. And they focused on primarily job creation. And I'm not talking about part-time jobs, menial hourly wage jobs. I'm talking about full-time, good-paying jobs. That was the primary focus of economic development. And we looked at a lot of projects. Some of them were in the millions and some of them weren't. And we had to make recommendations as to whether we would approve the project or not. And we primarily were looking at manufacturing. And they wanted to, the program was available if they were going to do something in an economically depressed area. It was either a relocation from another area or a increase in their size and production in the existing area, or a startup business. Well, the businesses that were located in the area had a good history for the area. The businesses that wanted to relocate had a history, but not necessarily in that area. And the new businesses that were startups had no history. So we had to rate these. And it all really focused every time on jobs. The EDC was not permitted to fully fund a project. The company that wanted to relocate, expand, or build new had to have a majority of their own investment in it. And that's been true ever since. EDCs are not going to fully fund an improvement or expansion of a business. Now, when you're looking at this is, this is very well put together. But when you're looking at job situation that says in there that's going to create 5 jobs. Now, what are these 5 jobs?
Actually,
They
it
need to be
says
analyzed.
it'll increase them from 15 to 20 jobs.
That's
This will also
adding-
increase
that's
our payroll
adding-
from 15
that's
to
adding-
approximately 20.
That's adding 5 jobs.
It should have another word then after 20 more employees,
Yeah,
15
but
to
it's
20
adding,
more.
okay, it's adding 5 jobs.
No, sir,
basically.
no, sir. It's adding 15 to 20 more jobs. To cover what we'll need to cover with this. I left out the word more, and I apologize for that. This will also increase our payroll from 15 to approximately 20 more employees,
Secondly, when you get into EDC, this type of project does not basically fit in the EDC program because it's not generating jobs to support the local economy. And that's basically what EDC is about, creating jobs. Now, until just a few years ago, EDC was not even allowed to make any kind of investment in a retail business. That was prohibited. But now, because of companies like Walmart and Target and those that are building these gigantic stores, creating a lot of jobs, now EDC can do some investment, but never are they permitted to make a full investment. Now, there's three ways the EDC can invest in a project like this. They can provide a low interest rate loan, which would be a second to a first mortgage. And EDC would be allowed to invest somewhere between 30 and 40% as a loan to a project like this. But the bank would have to be the first lien holder. They would make the first mortgage lien on it. EDC would make the second and give them the money. And the resort would be making a payment to the bank and one to EDC. Another way that the EDC could help would be to help with some of your infrastructure, maybe help pay some of your parking lot or something like that. But as far as investing in cabins, it's not going to fit, I can guarantee you.
Let me tell you why we did this. Okay. I'll be glad to let you do the roads. It costs more money to do those roads than.
I didn't say we're not going to
I don't know, wait a
pay
minute, no, listen, but listen to me.
Okay.
There is zero return on investment.
That's fine.
That's my point. I thought, I mean, this gives you the return on investment. There is no return on investment doing roads. I mean, you see where I.
It's the same as any other company that wants to build. Now, this company wants to develop this property on a corner down there.
Okay.
EDC can help them with some of their infrastructure. They can't help them build a building. They can help them pave a parking lot, or they can put in help with a sewer system or something like that, but they can't do anything with the actual structure of the building.
What Chandler did here, and this is today's paper, it said the EDC proposes to expand $31,400. These changes are due to requirements of TxDOT for additional width of road for the intersection of the FDA. So the Chandler EDC, in order, they did exactly what you said is to help with road expense.
Listening to the mayor talk ago, it's just like reading the manual, just like page for page. That's why I kept wondering about this grant thing. I've never heard of a grant other than loans and loan guarantees. I know there's one city down out in West Texas, the EDC is so greedy, they'll loan the business the money. If you're one day late, they own your business.
But EDC can help with infrastructure. Say if you have a parking lot and it's going to cost you $100,000 to do it, EDC prepared to pay part of it. They're not going to pay all of it, but they will pay part of it.
But I think what he's saying is he wants to key it, and unless we do this, he wants, the only way the annexation is going to happen, that he's going to do it voluntarily, is this particular loan.
Well, we're looking at heads and bids. That's what we're looking at. That's where we came.
Now,
Sure, but no, you were tying it to
Now,
the
see, you're showing on here revenue for EDC of $167,000. Well, I'm thinking that must be motel, hotel tax.
That's correct.
And that is very restrictive on what you can use it for.
Correct.
There's only certain things it can be used for. So you can't classify that as EDC income. Now, the sales tax income, you're projecting $43,000 over a 10-year period. That's not a whole lot for the city. It's, any dollars is not a whole lot of money.
Well, I understand that. I mean, but at 1%, why, I mean, it just isn't gonna be a whole lot.
I know.
If you build a paved area for somebody, how does that ever put a dime back into the EDC?
It helps with traffic flow. There's reasons for it, but,
How does a piece of asphalt ever collect a dime in taxes?
It can be done, you're not investing money to create return on it. You're investing the money to create jobs. Everybody keeps forgetting, EDC is all about creating jobs. That's what it's for. That's why it was established.
Well, that's what we're doing.
It was established as a federal program, and eventually the states started adopting it.
Right.
And it's been a very successful program, but it's basically to create jobs.
And we're
That's
looking
why
at creating
that's
jobs
why
like
you've
this.
got Rick Perry going to all these other states trying to get these manufacturing companies to come to Texas.
Mhm.
Well, that's to create jobs. When you create jobs, you're gonna help the retail business.
And when you build up areas, rather than letting them depress and go down, more businesses come in. That follows each other. Businesses want to be where successful businesses are.
You know, Ray, what you're talking about is really true of type A EDC.
Well, type B and type A are not totally
No, I know.
different, yeah.
But there's a lot more things you can do under type B than you
Yes.
can type A.
Yes.
Including things that don't have anything to do with payroll. I understand, with
Yeah.
jobs. I understand exactly what you're saying.
And I understand that, because EDC can help the community center,
That's right.
okay,
That's right.
which doesn't really create revenue, but it's something that could be classified as, could be used for little conventions or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you're limited on how much you can do that.
Yeah, and it has to be approved by the city council, so, and we're type B, if no one, that's what we are, we're type B, so.
That's all I have to say.
If nobody else has any other questions, I will get out of y'all's collective here, and thank you very much. And if you have any questions, you can reach me at the resort. I'm there virtually every day except Monday I'm off, and even then you can get me on my cell.
Put your card in here?
Did not put my card in there. My number is 903-876-2253, or my cell is 903-752-1378.
And your name again?
My name is Scott Martin.
And you put a bunch of quotes for us, Scott.
Well, I remember when
Yeah,
that-
Scott, thank you for making.
Oh, thank y'all for the time. I appreciate it a whole bunch.
Very smoothly presented.
Well, I didn't practice that too much. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
You too.
No, that's the way they approached it, is heads and beds and immediate, because that would be immediate income. So we'll table this for now.
I make a motion that we table this.
How long do we want to table it for?
It's not gonna take long. You wanna do it for a month, Bruce?
Well, yeah, or sooner. It doesn't.
Let's give it a month. I don't
matter.
think it's necessary to give it a month, but what do you think about it?
Why don't we talk about it again on the 3rd of April?
I have a problem with that. I just think you ought to turn it over to the city attorney and let them rule what's right and wrong with this thing.
I don't see any harm in that.
I think
3rd
it's
of April, and
very dangerous.
what's the day?
Well, when we use an attorney, that costs us money, right?
Yeah.
That's why,
I don't think we need to go to the attorney.
yeah, I don't think we do either, so,
You can go to EDC.
$300-400 well spent sometimes.
yeah. My contact down there, I've got several contacts, they can walk me through this real easy, so. Sure could. And I wouldn't even be opposed to hearing this in a conference call, so.
A lot of problem when you ask other people with their EDCs what they're doing, 99% of the time you get a home rule city, they can do anything.
Yeah, yeah. And you're gonna get 99 different answers.
So we're trying to pick a date on our next meeting is where we're at?
Well, I'm suggesting
So
April,
the Arlington creates EDCs within the EDC.
I'm suggesting April 3rd.
That's about 3 weeks. Is
That
that
gets
right?
it done
The
before
week
the
before our
council
city
meeting.
council meeting.
If we can get together and proceed from there, then you're still ahead of the council.
I'm fine
Just
with
make a
3
difference
weeks.
to me.
Do you need a motion on that, Larry?
I make a motion to table it
Until
until
April
April
3rd?
3rd.
I'll second that. Is that gonna be a special meeting, Larry, or is that gonna be a regular meeting?
That was a special meeting.
A special meeting, okay. Did you get that special?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the list, what are these here? Oh, there it is. Okay, discuss the final finish cost for the community center building.
This is not this is the final for this portion of it, okay?
Did you go out for bids already on it, Bruce?
No,
Oh, okay,
We have
wonderful.
not. We can't go out for bids until y'all approve, till y'all, I'd give you a copy, but I don't have any more copies, so.
Bruce is a stand-up kind of guy. That wasn't called for, but.
Basically, little history real quick. Don and I initially got started on this. We went over to the community center, took some measurements and got the old blueprints out, and kind of decided where we wanted to go with this. And then we got, Ron volunteered to help us. So Ron and I went up to Tyler and sat down with the guy at Lowe's. He agreed to do this drawing for us. These are not the final prints that we would go to bids on. This is just a print of what we've got to work with over at the community center. But you can see that we've made a kitchen on one side, and on the other side, it's basically storage that's identified as pantry shelving. Now, our plans initially would be to use the existing hot water tank and not put an ice maker in. That's really for future in case we needed it. I think we can tie in, we have a 55-gallon tank over there, which I think would be sufficient, and it would be fairly easy to tie in. The drawing that you got actually shows 2 refrigerators. We're going to have 1 refrigerator, and the next drawing will show that. And the GE stove and hood is going to be on the other wall, and that's going to be a cabinet. And I apologize. This is just the best drawing I had because we were able to show the sink area in here.
There's a picture of the single fridge and about mid-pack.
Yeah. Let's just go through the pictures, then I'll come back to that. The first picture, you would be out in the community center looking inside the kitchen through the serving window. And that whole distance is 15 feet long with a 9-foot wall, sheetrock wall. You can see that there's also a bar out there that would, you could serve iced tea or coffee if there was a meeting. So I'm going to call it a coffee bar. We don't have the ability to have any water in that area because it'd be really hard to get to the drain. We'd have to cut concrete. We really weren't going to do that. So that's just going to be what I call a dry.
Yeah, we're gonna put plugs behind there so they can plug in a coffee maker
There
or
is
something
no
there.
electrical in here at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll be quiet, go ahead.
And if you go to picture number 2, that's basically the same thing. It is the same thing, except it just doesn't show the same. So let's go to picture number 3. This would be an artist's conception of what you would look like if you were going to go through the door. The initial blueprint on this actually had the door on the other side, not in the actual hallway, but Don and I thought it made more sense to actually put the door in the hallway. So we relocated that door to the hallway. So this is walking into the door. To the left, you see the countertops, the serving window. We put a few cabinets up on top. Looking straight ahead, you would see a 30-inch electric range, 220 range, with a 48-inch vented hood, a refrigerator that would be a freezer on one side and a regular refrigerator on the other.
Did you pick on the size on that, Bruce?
Yeah,
Something
25 cubic feet?
It's in the-
That's good.
Yep.
That's standard.
And then if you look at the last picture, this would be standing at the refrigerator, looking back toward the hallway. You can see the serving area on your right, the door that would actually exit back into the hallway, and just a sneak peek to the left of what that storage area would look like. And then the little cabinet there, that's where we would put a microwave oven on top of that cabinet. And then what's not shown there would be the stainless steel 3-sink and then the washing laboratory. The last page of this is the bid for the cabinets, the 3-bowl sink, the single sink, the only thing we're gonna have in the pantry would be shelving units. We need 3 of them, the electric range, the vented hood, and the refrigerator. And of course, there's no sales tax because of we being in the city. And I've checked it at Home Depot, Best Buy, and there's not $5 difference in these appliances, no matter where you buy them. I would like to recommend we buy them at Lowe's because they agreed to do all these drawings for us, which was really a nice thing to do. And it kind of gives us a kind of an artist's conception of what this thing would actually look like. And I actually have some color prints, but I didn't have enough to go around, so I apologize, these being in black and white. And the way I see this, if we want to go, and that bid was $8,971. I had kind of put a number, Don and I had put a number in our head that somewhere around $30,000 is what we thought this project was going to cost. So this is pretty much in line, in fact, a little bit less than what we have thought for this portion of it. Basically, what's left to be done is have a contractor come in there, build the 9-foot walls, put the electrical in, and the plumbing, which is going to require another drawing, more technical drawings. Ron has some experience doing these drawings, and he has graciously agreed to do the drawing off this print. Then we would probably, advertise in the paper so we could get, 2-3 bids. We would have a pre-bid meeting up here at City Hall and do a walkthrough, because there's one part in the concrete down there that has to be cut to get us access to the drain.
Okay, yeah.
And then the other thing too is, even though we're not going to put an ice maker in right now, I'd like to put a floor drain on the other side, at what I want to call the pantry area right now.
It's now or never.
Yeah, because if we ever want to add an ice maker in the future, it's there. And it doesn't cost that much. We're going to be breaking the concrete on one side, so you go 6 inches on the other side of the wall.
It's an incredibly messy job if it's going to be done at all.
It is, So that's where we're at right now. Like I said, John and Ron and I have spent a little bit of time trying to get this together. And I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. But the next step, if we want to go forward, would be for us to, approve that we're going to build it this way, and then to do the drawings, and then go to the next step. So
Publish had to pay for the bids. So, I'll let somebody else speak before I go in and jump into my long dissertation.
Only thing I was gonna say was, Bruce, all I'm gonna do is draw this to scale and then present it, and we can all decide where we wanna put electrical. Nothing more than that. That's just.
And the plumbing is pretty much self-evident because of the 3-position sink, the hot sink.
Right, and we can,
the stove,
we can position that. I think one of the considerations we need to think about, and that is, once they begin construction, we may want them to drop some tarps or dust, dust cloths or something to keep dust particles, especially from the concrete, from going all over the building.
That's an excellent idea. They need to get in there with their tape and their polyurethane and tape the whole
And they
weasel
can
out,
drop it.
or else it's gonna be a mess and you'll never clean it
And
up.
just basically screen off that one area.
It's a must, it's gotta be done like that.
Otherwise, we're gonna have, and we're gonna have it anyway, but we're gonna have air conditioning filters filled.
No, you'll ruin everything, because once you start cutting concrete, it'll suck it up in those vents. If that building lasts 100 years, you'll have dust in there for 100 years.
That's correct. The new concrete saws, though, that have the water, are a big improvement for
That's
not
true.
having water. So,
That's
but you're right, we're still gonna have a lot of dust, but I think knowing that going in, if we require the contractor to hang the curtains, it's not gonna totally eliminate it, but it'll help.
It's a small potatoes anyway, 'cause it's just polyurethane and tape, and if they're gonna be bidding on it,
Right.
make them do it right,
Yep.
Because we're looking at cleanliness of the rest of the building. And people, contractors can be incredibly nasty,
Mhm.
and we're gonna have to live with whatever they do, so.
Yeah. I don't think the construction over there would take a real long time once they got started.
No, they're gonna want their money.
Yeah, but I think, you know, all we're doing, there's no drop ceiling in this, that's why we use the vent hood, it's just 9-foot walls. We're not having to do any additional HVAC work or heating work,
So we're putting them all sheetrock walls and wood studs.
that's pretty much right.
And then they're gonna paint it white or whatever color that we want it.
Whatever color you want. Beige, white, blue,
Makes no difference.
doesn't matter.
Makes no difference.
How about you, Mayor, do you have any questions about this?
No, it looks good to me. It'll make it more rentable.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think it would be, and I kind of was just doing some numbers in my head, I think it may come in even under what I thought, so, but at the same time, I still want to leave that number up there because something else always comes up.
Always
It
have
never
a surprise.
fails.
Always have a surprise.
You wanted to ask a question?
And the number that you have up there is 30,000?
Yeah, my original estimate was 32, so.
Mine was a little higher.
Jim and Larry and Lauren, since I was involved in this too, we very methodically went over there and looked at the plans to see what we could do to come up with a practical plan. We didn't go full hog on any of this stuff, but we wanted something that was usable for the people that would come in and rent this thing. And so what we tried to do is, and Larry, you should be the expert on this since you basically run a commercial facility, but we tried to come up with a renter-friendly facility that we would get the maximum amount of bang for our buck and make it serviceable for people that we did. This is these people here's idea about we got as long a counter as we could on this wall. We were basically limited by the dinky size of this thing. But it sounds real grandiose, but this is a little dinky thing. So we wanted to have as much counter space as we can for serviceability. The outside thing here also, that's a pretty clever idea, and I'll give Bruce credit for that, and that came from the church in Frankston. We don't have a sink on there, but that way they can put their coffee or tea dispenser out there, so it'll keep people out of the kitchen. And this was a whole idea, if you're gonna have somebody in here, they can have their staging area, and their staging area is inside. And that's why we tried to give as much counter space on the inside as we possibly could, because people are just gonna be heating stuff up and putting stuff in the refrigerator. But we wanted as much staging area, and that's my own staging area as we could along this wall, so they could basically bring in their staging area, and then they could shut it through the open window so that people could parade around outside and fill up their dishes and keep people out of the kitchen. And we thought about islands in the middle. There's not enough room for islands in the middle,
You don't need it.
so we kept it open.
How long, excuse me, how long, how long, how long,
8
how
foot.
long that counter, is that an 8 foot?
It's an 8, you mean the open area?
No, well, this
It's
counter,
the
is
length of the wall.
that's 8 foot?
No, so that particular thing is,
180 feet?
No.
it's long.
No, no.
What am I looking at? I'm trying to.
That's 180 inches.
180 inches.
Yeah, okay, that's.
I need a strong pair of glasses.
It's,
We made it as long as the wall.
96 and 18.
Well, I'm
It's
sure of
8
that, I
feet.
just.
The window opening is 8 feet.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm gonna pretend it's 16 feet.
What's that? 15 feet.
Okay. So that's plenty.
Yeah, and then on the other side, with the 3-position stainless steel sink, the fire chief said that some government specs said we had to have a 3-position sink even though we're not a commercial restaurant. And we put a vent hood. This is not a commercial spec vent hood, but this is something to take the stink out of there. It doesn't have any kind of fire suppression system or anything on there, so it's really just a basic vent hood with a vent outside.
It's a pretty powerful vent hood.
Well, good, that was money well spent. And the range, they were very conservative on the range. A 30-inch range is just your typical BS range that you would get in any kind of household thing.
I've got the
That's
specs
all
on
we
each
need
one of
there.
these things.
Yeah, that vent hood,
Yeah,
somewhere on there is the,
it's a powerful hood.
And I was asking Bruce, that's a nice size refrigerator, 25 cubic inch refrigerator
Yeah.
is kind of it's not a dinky one, it's not a huge one, that's kind of a middle of the road one also, and the side by side is.
yeah, that vent hood's 1,200 CFM, so that's
Yeah.
gonna move some air.
We can blow a lot of wind with that.
Move in on the pantry. On the pantry is basically open. We're having, how many steel shelves are we gonna have in there?
There's 3.
3. We're leaving the thing completely open because when we were in there perusing the community center, they put those bathrooms in there and they have emergency Red Cross supplies that they just have crammed in there, which really makes the bathrooms unfunctional as they have now. If we build this pantry, they can cram that stuff full of Red Cross supplies and, you know, basically unclutter the bathrooms that they have existing there. And so we basically left it as open as we possibly can. That also saved us money. These are also open wire shelves. We specifically chose those because they could be kept clean. If we had something with a flat surface, they'd spill it.
Right.
And make a mess in there. So, and also, when the contractor comes in, we're gonna have these shelves attached to the wall, so they won't be able to climb up on them and kill themselves.
And they're powder coated,
Yeah, or are they?
yes.
But anyway,
They're not stainless.
not to toot our own horn, which I'm tooting, this is a wonderful plan. The only thing I would pick on anything at all was Lowe's is getting the cabinet bid, but these are pre-finished cabinets.
And they're
Plywood, they're not, they're
all
particle
plywood.
board.
Oh, that's
There is
fine.
no particle board anywhere.
That's fine, I insist on that too, that was my nose in there also. $3,624, you might be able to beat that for $500 or $600, but I'm not gonna pick hairs on that either, even though I could, you know, it's.
Now, one thing that we will have to purchase that is not on this,
Is the base, the base for the stainless, the three stainless steel?
no, holes for the doors and drawers is not in
The
here.
handles?
Depending on what type of cabinets that they have, a lot of times they make cabinets, depending on how they use the faces of the cabinets are machined, and I see in this particular drawing, they have pulls on here.
They do, and I asked him specifically about that this morning, and he said, quite honestly, he said they get their the cabinet people,
Yeah.
they get their hardware the same place that we get ours.
The ones that I,
We order it from them, they bump the price up a little bit when we get them.
they make cabinets with bevel faces now that have no hardware. All the ones I
Right,
saw
they
on
do.
real
Yeah,
places.
just grab.
You just grab underneath and you pull, because that way they can destroy the handle and it doesn't get filthy.
Now, this quote does include the doors and hinges, it just doesn't include the pulls.
I understand what you're saying.
But you know, you can buy those, you know, you can go into a hardware store, into Lowe's or Home Depot, and
They're $3 to $15
go.
a piece, depending on how fancy you wanna get.
exactly right.
If I find some, I may donate them to the community center, because I got buckets of them.
Habitat for Humanity.
So their habitat's too high, those people are crazy.
So the only thing we're trying to do then is,
Once we approve the way we're gonna do this, then the next step, like I said, would be to have Ron, finish the drawing, and then we would advertise for construction bids and do it.
I can put the walls in, and that's real simple.
This is a very fine plan.
Because
It
what
meets
they've
my
got
goals.
here was
This
five,
is a great plan.
all we have to have is something for electrical to plug in. I can do that drawing and make multiple copies in 2.5 hours.
Does anybody have any questions?
We could hopefully, maybe we could deal with this at the April 3rd meeting, the special meeting.
Oh, yeah.
there's no
Has the
reason, is there any
has the
reason?
city already accepted and approved it?
Well, what we have to do is get the bids, and then once we get the bids, then we take it to the council for approval.
And I believe we have to advertise.
We're gonna do this as one unit, Lauren, in other words,
I know that, but that's said it has the city approved it and accepted it into the system. They're part of it.
well, we don't have anything to present the city yet till we get the final number.
That's where I was coming
Well,
from.
I mean, yeah, I could give this to the city, but this is
I think
not.
the city's gonna have the actual bids to.
Correct.
the decision.
Yeah,
Wait that long? So I think,
They're actually gonna have to have a dollar amount, because,
Right,
you know, because, and then the city council can say yes or no. And since it's EDC money, I don't see why they'd have any protest. And this is a great plan.
I
I'll
don't
personally,
think there's gonna be any
I'll
opposition.
vouch for this thing. This is a fine plan. This is really.
I know you talked about it in one city council, but
But we really have to have a number on it to get it approved. And one last thing on this, before I forget, is all of this little discussion before you were here, Lauren, this whole thing started with tables and chairs, believe it or not.
Sure did.
So,
We're
so the
gonna-
only
we
thing,
want
the only
tables and
thing you're
chairs
you're
in here,
interested in
too.
tonight then is just, do we want to continue with this plan?
we wanna continue with it, and by the way, tables and chairs is included in that
Oh, is it?
32,000. It
Oh,
is, absolutely.
If I can
In
make
my
a motion,
opinion.
if we go forth with this, I would like to make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that we accept the plans as drawn and move forward to get pricing. Is that a correct statement? Okay. Is there any discussion?
I just wanna thank the two guys that, even though I kinda took the lead, these guys were very, very involved in it. And I wanna publicly acknowledge, I really appreciate the work that they put on it too. Because I think you know, the three minds came together, and like Don just alluded to, I think we came up with something that would really assist the city in renting that, yet we really tried to watch the dollar, so. That's all.
I think it's a great thing, and I would like to publicly announce there that Bruce and Ron are very fine people.
And Don?
They're great people.
Let's stay with where we're at here. Then if there's no other discussion on it,
I made a motion, and we got a second.
Right, it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And we'll continue with that. Is there any new business?
I've got an idea that I think you need to address.
What's that?
I was over in the dollar store one day on Sunday. I think it was full of dressed up black ladies. And they were looking for the community center and they couldn't find it. Because there's no signs out there pointing to where it's at.
And that's true. We have talked about doing some advertising for the community center.
We're talking about road signs, aren't you?
Road signs. There used to be one there for City
signs,
Hall.
yeah. And that's the only sign, but there's several things we can do. We just kind of held off until this gets done, because correct me if I'm wrong here, Mayor, but the few people that had looked at it pretty much got turned off because it didn't have a kitchen. And that's why we've kind of put everything on hold.
They could have been rented a whole lot more. if they-
Right, I understand, and I'm still in favor of doing the advertising, doing road signs, whatever we need to do to promote the center, but we put it on kind of the back burner until we get this part done.
I was wondering, I didn't know how long it takes the state to get around to doing something like that.
Yeah, because they'd have to do it.
And if I'm not mistaken, the state will buy the sign. It's a brown and white, is that what it is? It's an informational local business.
But it's on their right of way and they have to do it.
Yeah, the state will do it, but it just has to be.
We might, who knows that process? We might go ahead and start making contact with the state, I don't know.
Talk to Chris Moore,
Okay,
he knows about that.
I'll talk to Chris.
And for future new business, now that we have, and we're kind of jumping up, but I'd like to kind of get things going here. Now that we have this new website, and it's almost complete, but it's not complete, it has so much information, and I think Coffee City ought to be represented for what it is, which is we're really a fine place. We have a lot of real estate opportunities available in the city now. We have a better transparency than we've ever had in the history of the city. We have motivated people that are sitting around this particular table, and I would like for us to come together with some kind of program for advertising the Coffee City website to draw people in just to look at what a professional website that we have. And I'm not talking just a Frankston paper. I think we ought to do it in the Tyler paper, maybe in the Chandler paper, maybe 3 or 4 of these little papers, because it would be cheap advertising. And the website, the city website probably gets no draw at all. But I think just getting people in to look at, oh, look, this is professionally suited, we have a professional website, and look at the information that's available. I think it would be a very cheap expenditure, and we're putting our best foot forward. This is a better foot than we've ever had to put before.
Your hotel, motel tax.
Did you notice you have the entire EDC separated in the city? Their whole background is all
Really
good.
nice.
It is it makes the old website look like a child's plaything. It is a wonderful website.
I'd like a 2 or 3 paragraph statement from you about your vision of the EDC.
And we want to promote in the new website, we want to use this website to promote every business, and anybody that wants to jump in the boat, we want to have them on there. We want to drag everybody on here. We want to promote Coffee City for all of the people that are existing, and anybody wants to participate, and any of the existing real estate that's for sale. In other words, what I would like to do for new businesses is I would like to facilitate, since it was the EDC who was paying for this thing, and he's doing it for free. I think we ought to spend some money and use a talent that we have here, because it's an unequal talent. You can't go to any city of any size, and I brought some stuff here in my pile, but I'm gonna do you a favor and not drag it out. We need to look at that. We need to look at using the talent that we have here at this particular table. There's no reason not to, and I think it would do a lot for improving the image of the city, and I think that's what we really need.
What's that?
I just wanted to pass those drawings around, those colored drawings.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. because I need those back.
And I have some other things here too, but I don't want to wear you guys out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. That's been voted on, and so, what did I do? I just put
I think executive session is the next item.
that. Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing else to discuss, then, I'd like to go into executive session.
Can I have a question on the executive session?
Yeah.
Do these two items qualify for an executive session? Is there something that we're discussing that can't be public knowledge?
Probably not.
I don't know what they are, I didn't get.
Just a potential sales tax revenue opportunity and the loan from the city of Coffee City.
I think we ought to just go forth with it. I don't think we need to drag it to an executive session, because I tried to understand the EDC in the past, and there was 100 executive sessions in the past, and I don't have a clue what ever happened.
Unless you're gonna talk about a specific company that's thinking about coming here, that doesn't wanna be known about.
Okay.
If you're just
That's
talking about,
fine with
if
me.
you're just talking about general sales tax revenue,
Is it, like item A, is that anything specific?
Like in theory, that guy could have done his in the executive session.
I'm gonna pass these around. What this is, actually is, Jim Beggerly has done the work on this. You can give one to the mayor too. And it's something that we're gonna discuss a little bit. It may or may not create any revenue for the sales tax for the city. I'm gonna let Jim take over and explain what it is that he has done and how it where the potential revenue is, and whether or not it's worth chasing.
The point here is that looking at sources of sales tax revenue for the city, I looked at basically 3 areas. The third area, the final area that I looked at, was the businesses that don't have signs necessarily and/or are kind of transitory in nature. We've all seen the food kiosks, the trailers out here, Smokey's Barbecue, the person's over across from Fat Dogs with the trailers out there selling hamburgers, hot dogs, whatever. And the farmers out here selling fruits and vegetables. The fruits, vegetables, and raw shrimp, as I read the sales tax laws, are exempt. They're selling foods that need to be prepared elsewhere. They don't collect sales tax. It's not a sales taxable item, okay? The folks that have the flea market, the folks that have the food trailers selling prepared food should be collecting sales and use tax. They should have a sales tax certificate to collect that. It's seasonal. The barbecue stand, et cetera, out there only operate a few months out of the year. But again, they should be collecting sales tax, and as I read the sales tax rules for the state, they should be being collected since they're being sold within the city limits here. Those sales taxes should, a portion of them should be coming to the city. Same thing with the flea market. I read the regulations on the flea market. They are a bit difficult, but basically they say that somebody who is operating a flea market or a garage sale doesn't need to collect sales tax. Their sales are tax exempt unless they are selling more than what is called an occasional sale. 1 or 2 sales per year is how, per calendar year, is how the state defines occasional sales. And unless they are getting more than $3,000 per year. And unless they are selling something that is not originally bought for their personal use originally. You go out and buy a tractor, you go out and buy a lawnmower, you go out and buy a washing machine. Then you've used it up, you're ready to sell it and put it in the flea market. You do that once or twice a year. That is no concern of the state. You go out and you buy the remnants from a store going out of business. You go out and you buy on eBay a whole rack of Carhartt clothes or whatever. Then you take it out and you sell it. That is a commercial enterprise where you're supposed to have a sales tax certificate. You're supposed to be collecting sales tax. You're supposed to be remitting it to the appropriate, in this case, municipality. The difficulties are, number one, enforcement and oversight. We, as a city, do not have somebody that we can point to and say, that is the sales tax person over there. That is the person who is supposed to know how many sales tax certificates are issued for the city, for sales and operation here in the city. And we don't have anybody that I can tell